Cinematic Shuffle has shuffled once again. If you're around on my Threads handle or as a YouTube short, last week you would have seen me give off my 3 weekly hints for what this film was going to be. I said that 1, it was an adaptation, 2, it was in black and white, and it has a futuristic setting. The film in question, of course, was The Giver, and I guess it might be a little bit of a dirty trick because the film goes the Pleasantville route, and it's only partially in black and white before it starts turning color. But be that as it may, the movie is The Giver and nobody got it right, but a lot of you had a lot of solid guesses, such as Metropolis, Sin City, War of the Worlds, 1984, and The Day the Earth Stood Still. All great guesses, and by the way, all coincidentally, films I've never once seen. Yes, I know, and I'm sure they're all great, and I'll get around to them eventually, but let's get cracking on The Giver. The Giver is a 2014 adaptation of one of the very few books I've ever considered to be a masterpiece about a young man named Jonas who lives in a black and white dystopian world that has done away with history, memories, emotions, color, and pretty much anything that makes people diverse in the name of creating a happier place to live. He is chosen to be the next receiver of memory, which is a very special job held for only one person in the entire community that holds within himself all the memories of the past and who they used to be. The more that he learns, the more he is disgusted with the world he once called home. I've only seen this film once before when it first came out and I wasn't really a fan. That being said, I've always wanted to revisit it for one main reason. When I first saw the film, I did so after a recent reread of the book. So I was fresh off of that when I saw the film, and I shouldn't have done that. That was probably the worst thing that I could have done. Because the book is too perfect, and the film was always going to fail against that, and it did. The film obviously wanted to be more of a movie than a feeling or an idea or a concept, which obviously that was more so the book. And hey, it works for what it is now that I have seen it again almost 10 years later. It pretty much covers everything that happened in the book. It doesn't have as much of an emotional toll as the book ever did because it's dealing with most of this stuff matter-of-factly. Now, it makes the claim that it's all about emotion, given the fact that emotion is the plot, after all, but the viewer just doesn't exactly have the same emotion as the characters while watching that they would have if they were reading the book. It's that simple, and that's still true. But because it's also been about 10 years since I read the book, I'm not as fresh off of that, and I can appreciate the film for what it is. Now, I think that anybody that loves the movie or even hates it can at least agree that as far as casting's concerned, Jeff Bridges was pretty much perfect. I mean, when I originally read that book, I feel like I had Jeff Bridges in mind for whatever reason. I can't think of anybody else in that role. The book was more simple in that there wasn't really a person that was seen as a bad guy. The movie is weird because the villain doesn't really know what they're doing, but from a film standpoint, Meryl Streep is obviously the villain. In the book, it's simply put society. Society's the bad guy. Meryl Streep, in this movie, though, she plays the role in both leader of the society and kind of the idea of the society in one thing. It feels a lot more like an unoriginal story with the inclusion of her character. I mean, her character is in the book. It's just not as pivotal as it is in the film. Then again, the book is short. So obviously they did have to flesh out these characters a little bit more for a full runtime of a film. In this movie, Jonas also has the ability to see beyond. So before he even goes to see the Giver, he can see colors, here and there at least. And I think that that was a really bad choice. In the book, he does not see color, period, until he sees the Giver. It kind of gives the role of the receiver of memory that much more oomph and importance, because this whole ability to see beyond things sounds way too much like he's a Divergent or something and he's in the wrong movie. I do appreciate a few moments of this film, though, that seem to get really deep in showing how bad society has become without even realizing it, and ultimately coming across with the idea that life sucks, but it would suck that much more if nobody ever felt anything and nobody ever knew what love even was. That we might be acting a little bit robotic without knowing it and being indifferent at horrific acts because it's just part of what we're told to do. A lot of the stuff that Jonas learns is just as powerful as the book because it doesn't require so much emotion out of the cast as it does out of the audience. Those moments are great, but again, I didn't really fully buy into the emotions of the cast, so it's kind of a catch-22. That being said, I do think that the film is technically made well. The stuff in black and white, while not the best black and white stuff I've ever seen in my life, was still pretty unique. The way that it transitions into color is great. The entire dwelling that the giver lives in is beautiful. The edge of town is mystifying. And now these are all things that shouldn't go unnoticed, but they often do, because like me, people go into this film hating it because the book is beautiful and awesome and perfect and a masterpiece, and the movie's a movie. And essentially that bias keeps people away and keeps people hating it. But as a movie on its own, it's not that bad. It could be a whole lot better and simple, and it just wasn't. But anyways, I did score The Giver a B+ letter grade. Final overall score of 80%. 80 out of 100 possible stars. That just means that the film was indeed made well. If I'm being honest with myself and I'm ignoring the bias that I have because of the book, I can see that the film is more or less made well and Jeff Bridges is a treat. I still don't really know if it's a movie I would love to rewatch, but I'm not against it at this point. We'll just say that. Back in the day, I was against rewatching it. I saw no point, but it is decent enough. Guys, what are your thoughts on The Giver? Have you read the book? Let me know how you compare these two. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review for the Cinematic Shuffle. And until then, peace out.